Picture this: you're sitting at a table with a giant puzzle in front of you. Each piece represents a choice you've made, a decision that's led you to where you are. But instead of piecing together your own story, you're looking around for someone else to blame for the pieces you don't like. Sounds familiar? Today, we're talking about a tricky topic: the blame game. We all know someone who always points the finger at others for their problems. Or, heck, maybe we've been that person ourselves at some point. So buckle up, as we're about to uncover 10 signs you might be playing the blame game. Sign 1. You never admit when you're wrong. Just like a football player refusing to admit he missed an easy goal, you dodge responsibility. People who can't admit when they're wrong tend to have a higher level of narcissistic traits. Psychologically, this might be rooted in a fear of vulnerability or a fragile self-esteem. The fear of being perceived as incompetent can be paralyzing. To counteract this, try to embrace a growth mindset, viewing mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures. Sign 2. You feel like the world is against you. You feel like the world is against you. It's like you're a tiny sailboat in a storm, always tossed around by external forces. This often stems from an external locus of control. You believe that you are at the mercy of outside forces, which can lead to feelings of helplessness. To mitigate this, work on developing an internal locus of control. Here are 2 small daily practices you can do. First one is affirmations and positive self-talk. Start each day with positive affirmations. Tell yourself that you have the power to shape your day and your future. Remind yourself of past successes, however small, to reinforce the belief in your own abilities. Second one is decision-making exercises. Regularly engage in activities that require decision-making, even as simple as choosing what to cook for dinner, which route to take to work, or planning your weekend activities. This helps you get comfortable with the idea that you have control over many aspects of your life. Sign 3. You often say, "It's not fair." This can come from a place of entitlement or a desire to control what is not yours to control. Recognize that some parts of life are inherently unpredictable. Practice acceptance and focus on things you can control. Focusing on things you can control can help reduce stress, increase your effectiveness, and improve your overall well-being. Here are some actionable practices. Number 1. Identify what you can control. The first step is distinguishing between what's in your control and what isn't. This might involve writing down your worries or concerns and categorizing them as controllable or uncontrollable. This can help you see where to put your energy. Number 2. Set clear goals. Once you've identified what you can control, set clear, achievable goals related to these areas. For instance, you can control your diet, exercise, how much effort you put into your work, and how you treat others. Setting goals in these areas gives you a focus. Number 3. Limit media consumption. News and social media often focus on things beyond our control, which can contribute to feelings of helplessness. Limiting your exposure to such content can reduce anxiety and allow you more time and energy to focus on what you can control. Remember, focusing on what you can control is a skill that takes time to develop. Be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress. Sign 4. You're always the victim in your stories. People who always see themselves as victims tend to think others are out to get them or can't be trusted. It's a bit like seeing the world through "everyone is a villain" glasses. But what if we flipped the script? Imagine, for a moment, that your soul could swap places with the person you're blaming. You'd suddenly be in their body, with their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. You'd see the world through their eyes. Would you act any differently than they do? Chances are, you do exactly what they're doing because you're now experiencing their reality. It's an interesting thought experiment, isn't it? And let's talk about this really cool idea called the empty boat effect. Imagine you're in a boat, enjoying the calm water, and suddenly, another boat crashes into you. Your first reaction might be anger at the other boat's driver. But what if you realize there's no driver? It's just an empty boat that got carried away by the current. Would you still be angry? Now, apply this to people in your life. What if you stopped blaming others and instead saw them as empty boats? Maybe they're not villains trying to make your life difficult, but people being carried along by their own currents, their emotions, experiences, and circumstances. This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but understanding that everyone is dealing with their own battles. And if we could step into their shoes, or boats, we might do the same things they do. This shift in perspective could turn our personal drama series into a more understanding, empathetic narrative. Pretty cool, right? Before we delve into the last 3 hidden signs, please hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below saying, "I subscribed." I'll be sure to reply to your comment and decipher the reason behind your chosen profile picture. I'll give you a moment to do that. Ready? Great, let's continue. Sign 5. You struggle to empathize with others. Perhaps you found yourself responding to others' concerns or feelings with statements like, "That's not my problem, I don't care," or, "I don't understand why they're upset." According to research published in Psychology Today in 2019, it was found that empathy levels have been declining in recent decades among college students. The study found a 48% decrease in empathic concern and a 34% decrease in perspective taking over the past 30 years, which suggests that struggles with empathy might be becoming more common in recent generations. And let's delve a bit into the brain science here. Neurologically speaking, empathy involves a variety of brain areas, like the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. These areas light up in brain scans when we empathize with others. So, empathy isn't just about feelings. It's also about how our brains process those feelings. It's also worth noting that empathy isn't just beneficial for our relationships, it's good for us, too. A study from the University of Virginia found that individuals who exhibited more empathy had better physical and mental health. How cool is that? But what if empathy doesn't come naturally to you? The good news is, empathy, like a muscle, can be strengthened with practice. So next time, instead of saying, "I don't understand why they're upset," try asking, "Can you help me understand what you're feeling?" You might be surprised by how such a small shift can change your perspective. Remember, the ability to empathize is a journey, not a destination. It takes time and practice to develop, and that's perfectly okay. Sign 6. You carry grudges and have a hard time forgiving. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to fall ill. According to a study in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, holding grudges can even have negative impacts on your health. The wise Nelson Mandela once said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." Sign 7. You struggle to accept constructive criticism. You know what's interesting? Despite all your accomplishments and the confident vibe you put out there, you have a tough time dealing with constructive criticism. Your world is kind of like this carefully built sandcastle, all your plans, goals, strategies perfectly stacked. So, when criticism comes along, it feels like a high tide threatening to wash it all away. You've always been the independent, "I got this" kind of person, right? And that's worked for you, climbing ladders, smashing goals, turning heads. But this independent streak also makes taking criticism a bit of a gut punch. It's like someone's taken a swipe at your shiny, hard-earned armor of confidence, and it's hard not to react emotionally. And let's talk about those chats where you're expecting some feedback. Your brain's off to the races, thinking 2 steps ahead, ready with your defense or comebacks. In all that rush, you might miss the nuggets of wisdom buried in that criticism. Those words like, "You could improve," or, "I think that." They send your heart racing, your palms start getting sweaty, and you get that uneasy, knotted up feeling in your stomach. But here's the kicker. You're really good at dishing out constructive criticism, always meaning well, wanting to help people do better. But being on the receiving end? It feels like a full-blown assault. You know the intellectual part of you gets it. Constructive criticism is good. It helps you grow, get better. But emotionally, it's a battlefield. Now that's one heck of a paradox you're wrestling with, isn't it? But you know what? It's never too late to learn new ways of dealing with things. Here's a little mind trick to make accepting criticism a bit easier. Try to reframe it. See it as a gift, not a threat. Imagine it as a tool for polishing that armor of yours, not denting it. It's all about perspective, right? And remember that wise old saying, experience is simply the name we give our mistakes. We all stumble, we all make mistakes, and it's through these blunders that we learn the most. Every piece of criticism is a stepping stone on your path to growth. Every suggestion, every feedback, they're all helping you learn and refine your skills. And guess what? That's what makes you stronger, wiser, better. When that knot in your stomach starts to tighten at the sound of criticism, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, it's just another experience, another mistake to learn from. After all, wouldn't it be boring if we got everything right the first time around? Growth comes from learning, and learning often comes from criticism. So, embrace it. Let it shape you, let it build you, and see where that road takes you. Sign 8. You find it hard to make positive changes in your life. You know, it's interesting, but making positive changes in life can sometimes feel like you're stuck in a revolving door, just going round and round. You see what you want outside, you reach for it, but the next second, you're back where you started. And this isn't just about big things, like kicking a bad habit or changing your entire diet overnight. It can be the little things too, like finding yourself sucked into the vortex of procrastination or spending that extra hour on social media instead of catching some much-needed Z's. And when you're stuck in that cycle, it's pretty easy to start pointing fingers, right? Blaming your job, your friends, or hey, even the weather. But the thing is, blaming others for our own stalemate doesn't do us any good. In fact, Stanford University did some research on this. Turns out, the more we blame others, the less likely we are to change ourselves. Because when we're too busy passing the buck, we often overlook our own role in the issue, and more importantly, in the solution. Now, remember that wise man Socrates? He once said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new." So, how about this? Instead of pushing against that revolving door till you're blue in the face, what if you just stopped? Took a step back, looked at things differently? Here's a small daily practice to get you started. Try writing down one thing you want to change about your daily routine. Simple things, like reading a book for 5 minutes before bed instead of browsing social media, or swapping one cup of coffee for a glass of water. Keep track of your progress each day. It might not seem like much, but these tiny changes can add up over time, carving out a new path, building new habits. The idea is not about battling the old you, but sculpting a new version of yourself, piece by piece. It takes patience, time, and above all, the courage to take responsibility for your own growth. So, next time you feel trapped in that revolving door, remember, you're not just stuck. You've got the power to stop, reassess, and start building the new. Because at the end of the day, the person who can change your life the most is you. So there you have it, friends, your 8 key signs you're playing the blame game. Remember, change isn't just about identifying the problem, it's about owning up to it and taking active steps towards resolution. If this has resonated with you, do us a solid. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Every like, every subscription, every share brings this message to more people. It helps build a community that's more self-aware, more accountable, and more committed to personal growth. Let's grow this tribe of self-improvers. Let's nurture a culture of change, together. Keep learning, keep evolving, and let's keep turning those mistakes into stepping stones, even when it's tough. Until our next chat, take care, and keep striving for the best version